Ladies and gentlemen, we are now live. Welcome to a conversation with, and I am your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. And today I am joined by the one and only Eunice Levis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I went over her resume and bio, we would be here all night. And she does not have all night, so we're not going to do that. But just let me say, she is an amazing award winning filmmaker, and she is a filmmaker in one of my most favorite genres, which is science fiction. I absolutely love that. And she's also in the horror space. And those are two genres that you normally do not see women, and especially women of color, and especially Afro Latina women. So that's like the trifecta of kiss my, you know what, I'm going to do this damn thing. Eunice,
Yeah,
welcome to a conversation with. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much, Floyd.
Great, great, great. Now, we met through an amazing friend, Rachel Afori, and
Yeah.
I love meeting new people. It's just so amazing. And the fact that I met you through Rachel is just an extra added bonus. And then we actually had the opportunity to talk. When was that? Sunday at
Someday, yeah.
the Film Factory's relaunch, which was absolutely amazing. And I was,
Fantastic.
uh, yeah, and it was really great to have you on the panel and to to learn some new things from you and to learn how to approach the business of filmmaking from a different point of view. But enough of that. Eunice,
Yes.
how did you get started in this business?
Ooh. Well, actually, I got started as a journalist. I used to work for a Spanish language daily newspaper in New York City called El Diario La Prensa. And one day I had the opportunity to document a report I was doing with camera, which was not the norm
Mhm.
for my particular freelance role. Um, and I loved it. I loved telling the story with the visual. I love having control of that narrative, the visual narrative, and it just opened up the world of film to me.
Okay, so you caught the bug, and it's a bug that you can never get rid of.
Never.
So how did you then pursue it once you decided, hey, I love this? And when did you really find that it was something that you could do and that you were good at? See, I just done blew up the questions
Mm,
already because you just
yeah.
I gotta know. I
So
have a whole list, but I just blew that up.
that's a great question, actually. So, I think that I really jumped into the film world. I used to have a company called EKG Films,
Mhm,
and originally we were doing PSAs, and I was looking into just like short documentaries and things like that. I didn't really fully commit to the genre component because that was very personal and I was very afraid to jump in. So we started out doing PSAs and just really giving voices to people who are underserved. And then from there, I realized that I'm pretty good at directing people. I love working with talent. I love it so much. I love the collaborative nature of film. And I love the idea of empowering people who look like the people in front of the camera, behind the camera. And so that's when my journey started. And that would probably be around 2012.
mhm.
That's like really when I really committed. Um, but when I started the company was 2002
Okay.
that I started, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I wanted to get into the industry. And an old partner of mine and his dad and we collected all of our money and we bought a Red One camera.
Mm,
It's a monster of a camera, but back then it was like sleek, and we were one of the first people to have it, and we actually had it like in beta form. Um, and we just started doing that. We bought a camera, we bought lights, we were like renting it out. And I learned really quickly that I did not like the production side of it. That was
mhm.
not my lane. I was really more of a creative and I really enjoyed that space. So, I kind of left the industry for a while and started just focusing really on PSA content, public service announcement content. And I did that for a really long time. And not until recently, maybe like 5 years ago, went back into the narrative world and I decided to just jump in and do what I really wanted to do, which was tell stories within the genre space.
Hmm. So why science fiction and horror? Because that's kind of unusual. Normally, you just people just jump into the I would guess I would say the regular type stuff, drama,
Hmm.
comedy, things like that.
Hmm.
But why would you take such a hiatus and then you come back and jump into what are two of, in my opinion, two of the most difficult genres because everything's make believe, but
Hmm.
science fiction and horror they have an extra layer because you have to world build.
Yeah,
So why did you decide science fiction and horror?
I'll tell you. And it's something that I really genuinely feel I can make up anything. I can be anyone that I want to be. No one can dictate my past. No one can tell me, no, that's not accurate. We can be anything. And so that is healing to me. It's restorative and it validates people's experiences, even experiences that were invalid before or just, just not seen. So genre and horror, there are two there are two spaces that just allow you to really dream and allow you to fit in. Let's say, and that's not saying that in comedy and in drama that doesn't exist, but I just really really love the idea of being able to create without limits, without the
Hmm.
the restriction of it being grounded in reality.
So those two genres are very interesting genres. But I want to touch on science fiction. I'm just going to put my question thing down because I have gone off script.
Let's
Um,
do it.
but you know what? The site because I'm really intrigued by that. So was Octavia Butler, because she is one of my favorite authors. Was she one of your inspirations as far as becoming someone who wrote science fiction?
It's funny and it's she is and she was and she continues to be.
Mhm.
But my first inspiration for sci-fi was actually Steven Spielberg. And
Yes.
um growing up, that's what I saw. And he sold me on that dream. He sold me on the idea that I can go to my, I didn't have a backyard. I lived in an apartment, but I could go outside and accidentally find an alien and then
Mhm.
just change the world. I can be the lead in my own story and my own adventure. And that really, really stuck with me. And it really feels good to be kind of in charge of your own narrative. And so Steven Spielberg started that dream for me. And then I started just getting fuel and being built by other women, really Black women
Mhm.
in those spaces. And Octavia was absolutely one of them.
Okay. So I saw in another interview where you said that you actually use and help me out if I misquote this, that you use real life to kind of scare people into doing the right thing. What did you mean by that?
So I think there's two things. One is I was really saying that in the space of public service announcements and
Okay.
how they are um how how to use them correctly is
Right.
to kind of modify. You want to modify behavior ultimately. That's really, you
Mhm.
want people to do something. There's a call to action for every single PSA. So I wanted to use my ability to scare people into
Okay.
modifying behavior. But it does translate into my filmmaking because I feel like there are things that are scary to Black and brown people that are just not scary to everyone else.
Mhm.
And I think that before, there's a lot of conversations about it being a negative, but I really think that's a positive. I think that there is this opportunity to build these stories in these worlds that we've never seen before because we were never present.
Hmm.
So I'll give you an example. I forget what the name of the movie is, but there's these two little boys. They're two little white boys. They steal a cop car for a joyride. If that and it was a coming of age story. If that same story happened to a Latino or a black two black little boys, it would be very, very different. And it can actually be a horror film.
Hmm.
So the things that scare us and the things that are threatening to our well-being and just our human condition in general, it's very different. And I think that we should embrace that. I don't think that we should fight for equality in that sense because this has never been equal. And so let's get to where we need to get to. Let's peel back the layers of like what that pain and that scare and that fear. So when I tell stories, I like to tell them, I call them grounded stories. And when I say grounded, I literally mean stories that explore human condition and just the human experience in general. And then I add horror or I add sci-fi to it because I can build it out and kind of pull it apart and make it more entertaining for me. um, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you're so absolutely right, because that story that you just conveyed about the two kids in the cop car, you
Mhm.
know, to them that could be a comedy. Oh, that's so funny. That's kids being kids. But to us, every brown, red, yellow person, especially brown and black, we know how that normally ends up.
Yeah.
They ain't making it out the car.
Yeah. It's not a coming of age
And
movie.
yeah, oh no,
Yeah.
it's not a coming of age story for us. But that's so interesting, because when you were talking about the PSAs, it reminded me, because I drive for public transportation, and this man got on my bus and he was coming from the VA, and he refused to let them do a prostate exam.
Mm.
He was like, I'm not doing it. And it just kind of reminded me of what you were just saying, because to him, that was a horror story because of so much that has happened to us as people of color, when we go to the doctor.
Right. We have to lean in. We have to lean
Yeah.
into those horrors that are very real. It's very real. It's very real to go to the doctor as a woman and say, "I have a pain in my uterus," and we're like, "Oh, you're fine." Here, it's being dismissed and
Mhm.
it's being invalidated. So it's up to us as content creators to really give those voices and really explore what that feels like and what that means to just not be believed, so there's horror in that, and there's an opportunity to really explore those themes and those feelings and shed light on it, but also make it real for others, and
Yeah.
and hopefully get people to really look into it, and start some changes, start some conversations.
And also have empathy,
Yes.
because when you see it, I never looked at it that way, because I would watch certain films. I'll just use an example. Some films in the LGBT community, LGBTQ community, tongue tied. And you would see certain films and you're like, wow, I never looked at it that way, because that's not my reality.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that it's not real. It's just not my reality. So
Right.
when you have someone point something out like that to you, it's a good thing. But how do you come up with your stories in science fiction or horror? What's your process like?
Yeah, so typically I get a story idea really by observing and living. If I see something that is affecting, you know, people that I love, people that look like me, people in my community, even people abroad. Right now, like the thing that's affecting me the most for some reason, I'm just infuriated, is a situation in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and the mass exodus of people, the forced exodus of people. I'll be kind with my words. And
This is
there's
an
really
adult
horror there.
podcast. You can be any way you want with your words. It's a
So
18 and older.
yeah, there is there's stories there that we're missing. There's a way to humanize people even through horror and sci-fi. I think the fantastical aspect of it is what brings people in, but then what makes people stay is that human. connection, that universal kind of theme, and that I really love to explore. So just observing, you know, life and things that are affecting us as a people, and that's really where I come up with an idea, and then I just put us in it. I put us
Okay.
everywhere. I literally, like, just the other day, I have an 8-year-old, and we were creating a story for bedtime. I create stories with her all the time, and she's like, yeah, what if she woke up and she was a unicorn? Yeah, she could be a unicorn. Why not? It's just like, you be whatever you want. And I don't restrict that. I don't restrict that type of dreaming, because I feel like she can see herself in any position
Mhm.
and doing anything. So I find stories in everything, every day.
That, that's beautiful. So do you find yourself, does it does it ever shut off?
No. Oh my God. I really think that something's wrong with me, because no, never. And you know what? I have two producers that I work with all the time, Elvis Nolasco and Rachel Ofori. And she will tell you, and so will Elvis, that I text them ideas all day long. I know they're like, Jesus Christ, leave me alone. But all the time, I'm just like pitching all the time. I have notes that I save, notebooks and just of ideas, of short stories, of a scene. I've written out scenes, just like, an entire act, let's say, worth of just random scenes that I just really want to see at some point. So I have to get it out. It doesn't end. It doesn't turn off. And sometimes I can't even sleep. I just have to write.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that question, I asked that of a lot of creatives because that is such a common theme throughout. That if you wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes you can just say, "Well, kiss goodbye, because I'm not going back to sleep." And that
Yes.
happens to me a lot. That's why I asked that question. I'll be like,
Yes.
"Oh, damn, it's
Yeah.
1 o'clock in the
I gotta
morning.
get
I
it
have to
out.
get up at 3." Well,
Yep.
there goes that. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I watched your film today, Invade.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There were so many things to love about that film, but where did the concept for that film come from?
Man, living in Pennsylvania. So fracking, when I moved from New York to Pennsylvania, fracking was a hot item. Talking item in terms of the political, the political world at that time. So fracking in Pennsylvania um started the idea, and I thought, what if we made a mistake? What if we dug too deep? What if we made a borehole that penetrated the that penetrated the earth way too deep? What if we
Mhm,
moved the it was just like it just snowballed into all these like what ifs. What would we find down there? What kind of material if we went and penetrated the earth so far, so deep, that we find materials that we've never encountered before, that we
mhm.
find organisms and bacteria and all of these things. And that's kind of where it began. Just thinking of the worst case scenario with the fracking that was going on in the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you get this idea, you say, "Okay, I'm gonna write this script." So now how do you go from concept to script to actually shooting?
Yeah. So, hmm, that was a little different. For Invade was a little bit different because Invade happened right when COVID kicked off.
Mm,
Um, so we ended up having to start it twice. We were in pre-production. We were already in rehearsals, and I had to call it off. Rewrite the script to get less people in contact, and then a year later we shot it. So I originally wrote it as a series, um, and the short is a standalone short, but it was also a concept short so that we can kind of pitch it as a series. So I have my series built out. I have this world, and actually, my lead, Elvis Nolasco, was the person that I always wanted to play the lead. And I reached out to him. Got him first. He joined. He joined as lead and as producer. And then having that break of COVID really allowed us to develop a stronger friendship so that by the time we shot the next year, he's like my brother. Like
Mm,
we were just like, all right, and now even more so, but back then it felt so natural to tell him, okay, he already knew what was happening. He was there in the development and he was just there every step of the way. So I developed this short again based off of the series just to kind of t- create that world and what the atmosphere would look like and what some of the themes would be. Um, Created that. I pitched it to Elvis and his team, and then I got and I obviously work with Berman Finellis, who is also a producer on Invade, and he also was from the inception down for the
mm,
series. Um, and then, of course, I'm at that point. I'm in Pennsylvania. I meet, I've known Kevin Hackenberg, who is a local filmmaker. I've known him for many years, and I said, Kevin, I need an AD. I know this is not your space, but I need someone that number one, I know. Number two, we can keep close because of COVID, and he has a lot of resources in Philly.
mm.
And I said, I need a producer. I need a line producer. I needed so many things. And he's like, I have someone. And he introduced me to Rachel.
Oh, wow.
Literally, day one, we meet. She's in the car and we're scouting locations and we're like, you like literally she's like climbing on things, running. I'm like, this girl is nuts. So we blocked the areas that we were gonna use. We locked our locations in I think that week. Like literally she dropped everything and we went and physically saw everything and we got to work and we shot. Like I think she came on board in January and February. We were already working. We were already on set. And it was amazing. And she brought a lot of her team and her people that she's worked with and even her interns and just, it was just a real love fest.
Wow.
And we received so much love and so much support on set. And also in Invade, Brian Anthony Wilson was in it. The young boy, Justin De La Cruz, Chris Beadham. It was just amazing. We did it in North Philly and in media, all local. We employed almost 70 local artists and freelancers and just independent folks that own, their own properties and their own businesses. And it was just amazing. It was an amazing experience.
Wow. So
So
yeah,
that,
Brian is a very good friend of mine. I've known Brian for years, and he shot a film with he shot one of my films. He's the star in one of my films back when I was actually doing that. But I want to go back for a second because you talked about Kevin introducing you to Rachel.
yes.
So the power of collaborating and relationships,
Hmm.
and we kind of touched on that Sunday, but can you explain to a new filmmaker who may be watching or
Yeah.
will be watching in the future or listening the power and the importance of collaborating the right way and networking and building the right relationships, because then you
Yeah.
end up with what you have in Invade, because it is an amazing film.
Thank you. Um, I would say, and I always say this even to my students, I say, you know, look for what you like and follow that path, right? But when you're building your tribe, look for people within your community that are doing things that are similar to what you're doing. You don't have to go, like obviously we're in Philly. You don't have to go to LA to, collaborate. Start here and grow and really kind of sharpen your tools. I would say, go to mixers, go to, film festivals, go to any kind of programming, support people's fundraisers. We can only, kind of lean on each other. With Kevin, I met Kevin through another friend of mine, Hakeem Hudson, introduced us, and I'm talking about, I don't even know how long ago this was. We met because he rented the red one from us
Wow.
a million years ago, and we did a music video for Barrington Levy. um, in Philly. It was the coldest day I have ever experienced, but Kevin was just awesome. I think it was Augustus Films who produced it. I met all these people and I started to see that the more I got to kind of meet and learn of people in my city, the more work I was getting, the more experience, and I really got to understand what I was good at.
Mm,
I would never know that if I wasn't on set and say, "No, I don't like this. I like this. I love working with him. I love how that director keeps things moving. I love how the safety coordinator does this." And just learning. You can't There's so many pieces of the puzzle. You have to collaborate and you have to know how to guide that ship. And you won't know that until you start to really develop your resources and your contacts. So I would say, super long-winded, but I would say,
no,
collaborate with people locally, see what's going on, look at go to the film office and on the website and see what's in production right now. There's always a ton of things that are listed. Reach out. Hey, can I shadow you on your set? Can I, do you need someone to do catering? Do you need a makeup artist? Whatever it is that you feel you are ready to lend, whatever talent you feel you're ready to lend at this point, go in that way. You don't have to be a director to, people think that you have to start big and you can start
mhm,
small, So I started renting a camera that I owned. I was that on that set, I was nothing. I was a vendor, but Kevin allowed me to be on set and I got to experience all that. And I got to become his friend and I met other people and we ate chicken together. We broke bread. Like it's just that kind of, look for those types of experiences. And it doesn't always have to be something where you're coming in top level.
wow. Now, see, I had a question, but I got to ask another one because you said something so important that I gotta come in on it.
Let's go.
You said you rented the camera,
Mhm.
and well, you were something on the set, but you weren't. I'm taking it you weren't a part of the
The
actual
production.
production,
I was a vendor.
but he allowed you to watch.
Yeah, because I asked.
Can you explain the important again, if there is a new filmmaker listening to this or will be
Yes.
listening to this, can you explain the importance of when you have the opportunity to sit on a set,
Mhm.
even if you're not in the production, what you should be doing? Now you
Yes.
mentioned some of it, but can you go
Yeah.
a little deeper because that's
So
profound. They need to hear that.
yeah. So okay. So in this particular experience, we got there. Obviously, we set up the camera. We handed it over to the DP and the DIT, and kind of went through all that. And then I was literally a fly on the wall. We were, off to the side, freezing, but seeing everything, seeing how the second unit worked, how the second unit collaborated with the first unit. Like you have to have a certain budget to be able to afford 2 units of camera departments. So an amazing experience. I had never experienced that before. We were primary camera, and then the secondary camera was some other digital camera, but the idea of knowing or seeing that in action, that orchestrated, and it is not that it's the way, it's one way that I've learned, and now I can always challenge it or build on it, but I have that experience like, oh, this is what they do. Oh, they break for lunch, and then the other ones, I didn't know that then. Like people think that they just know is obvious. No, it's not, learning. So what I did on set was I was quiet. I observed, I wrote down my questions, and then at lunch, we sat down, we ate. I asked questions. I asked why, why they were, basically, why were you dumping footage even before it, wouldn't it take longer? And they're like, no, we want to check it. We want to make sure, we have someone checking it. I never checked footage before. I just used to like fill my little card up, dump it, and
Mm,
keep it rolling because I didn't have the money to do that. So
right.
this was a bigger production, and I was able to see how that worked. Um, so yeah, there's no shame in learning and coming in and asking. There's no stupid questions, and even if the question sounds stupid or stupid to you're embarrassed to ask it anyway. There's no better opportunity than a hands-on type of, you're on set and you're right there in the thick of it, and it was just a great experience. So I would say be quiet. Don't interrupt the flow of the set. When you have an opportunity, ask your questions and follow up and be gracious. That's it.
Hmm.
Be gracious.
Yeah, and you know what? The dumb question thing, even if it's a question that's not even in the realm of whatever they may be doing at that moment, it lets whoever know that you're paying attention
Right.
so that down the line when you may come back and say, okay, I'd like to work for you, or I'd like to work on this particular film set, they'll be like,
Mm.
oh, you know what, I remember Eunice. She was very attentive. She was watching, she was note taking, and she asked me some interesting questions, and,
Right.
and you never know. But I want to go back to Invade for a second, because
Yeah.
um you what you I wrote it down. It was the NALIP, Latino Lens Women of Color Short Film Incubator.
Yes, the
Now, was
NALIP.
that with Invade, correct?
No, that was with Rowan
Or was it with
Stardust.
Rowan and
Yes.
Stardust?
Yes.
Okay.
So NALIP, the incubator. So annually, NALIP, through their Latino Lens arm or division, they have a fellowship that is the Latino Lens Women of Color Incubator, and is funded or supported by Netflix.
Mhm.
So we were one of four projects that were chosen to be developed through this incubator. So what it was, I wrote Rowan the Stardust and submitted it for consideration. And once it was selected, it was literally like we just ran with it. Like we were selected in, I want to say June, um, or maybe I don't remember the time frame. I know we had a very short amount of time from selection to production. So we were selected, we kicked off in July, and we were in production in June. I'm sorry, in August. Um, the fellowship at that point gave us $25,000 to produce the short, and that they gave us about. Ooh, I wish Rachel was here so I could ask her. She handled post, but I think we had like 5 or 6 weeks of post production
Okay.
after to deliver it. So it was really tight and really aggressive, but it was just such an amazing learning experience. And Nalip, that resource and that whole structure was very supportive and very just important in the development of Growing the Stardust.
Wow. So the timeline that you just laid out was very quick. It was very
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
Is that the norm for that type of fellowship, when you
Of
have to have everything right now? Let's
Mhm.
go. We gave you money. There is no
Yeah.
time to waste.
Yes, that is the norm. Typically, you have maybe like 6 months, but normally, what they want you to do is have it done within that fiscal year. Obviously, it's for budgetary reasons, but also you have to be ready to go. So when you submit, and I always tell people this, like when you submit to these fellowships, obviously you'll have your script, but have your production plan handy. Know who your people are going to be. Know where, have a rough idea of like, I want to shoot here. I think that this is going to take 2 to 3 days. I would love, whatever major like must have moments. My must have moment was the junkyard, obviously, for Rowan the Stardust. That was my must have moments. And so we worked really hard to find that, and we scouted, and Trent Watts is the DP, and he and I went out twice to go scout and make sure that the angles were right and that it is exactly what we wanted. But we did it in such a short amount of time, but it also kind of gets you in that mode where you have to tweak things and you have to be on your feet, especially as a director. Things don't go the way you plan, they just don't. Somebody's sick. For us, the New York City tri-borough bike race was happening and we didn't know, and it was
Mm.
pushed back because of COVID, and it was supposed to happen the weekend before, and something, I forget what it was, postponed it and pushed it to the day that we were shooting. We couldn't stop it because we had already contracted all the locations, but also all the crew. So we just had to go for it. And no one can tell that we had a couple of hours of like hundreds, maybe thousands of bike riders passing through our set. And we just handled it. We did what we had to do. And it's just being ready, knowing what you want ultimately, and that the changes that you make are still going to tell the story that you have.
Hmm. So first of all, how did you guys pull that off? With how did you guys do that?
The bike
The bike
the bike
riders, how did you guys do that?
Oh, so I had an awesome AD, Anna
Okay.
Morris, and on the day of, she swapped out what we were gonna shoot in that area
Oh,
versus
nice.
and the only thing is, like, the sun, you have to consider where the sun sets and stuff, like, matching that. So it's a little bit of panic attack at on set, but for the most part, we were able to get everything that we needed. Swapping out, scenes really worked, and, that's it. Just we had a great AD.
Hmm. So let's stay on this for a second because you know everything that you mentioned was so important, and it kind of put me in a mindset of you really have to know the business of this business because of the fact that the fellowship wanted things and they wanted them in a specific time and they wanted it done properly because again
Yeah,
they wrote you guys a check. So
right.
for those who are going to be listening and they're deciding that this is something that they want to do,
Mhm.
how important is it for them to learn the business of this industry?
It's extremely important. I think that oftentimes, honestly, this process, I've worked with SAG, I've done that paperwork, but the expectation of the fellowship is that you're going to be ready for distributions. The moment someone says, I wanted to you have everything. You have your contracts, your queue, your cue sheet, your music, your clearances, everything has already been done. So once we submitted that final cut, all that paperwork and all of that just legal component of it is also part of the package so that when someone wants to pick it up, you don't have to worry about it. Get
Hmm.
your lawyer, get your signatures, and give them your packet. So that was something that I learned, was that having all of your legal documentation and also just the documentation of your work um completed during post production is essential to being ready for not only distribution but also submission in festivals. Like, by the time we were ready to submit to festival, we had every piece of asset that we needed
Hmm.
because we understood, like, so, obviously, like I said, we had our cue sheet, we had our, I mean, we could tell you there's even a sheet tracking how many words everybody speaks. So we really did everything that we possibly need to get us to that point, because that is the expectation, that we're going to be prepared on a higher level, and that these are the things that people expect when they hire you. When you're hired and somebody's paying you, they expect you to know your project in and out, and they expect you to have taken care of that paperwork and that you're ready for that. So none of this in the future will be a surprise to me, because I know that, as silly as it sounds, how big is the logo at the end? Well, the logo at the end is about a 2-inch logo. Like, what it, that those mundane kind of information that you don't really think about, but now I do.
Hmm.
So,
So that kind of goes into what we talked about. Derek Hammond's in here, but it kind of goes into what we talked about on Sunday, the production value and the commercial viability of your film, and
mhm,
having all of those things in place so that when they do come calling for you, you can just hand it over.
right.
So, really quickly, what happens if you don't have that stuff lined up?
Mm. Well, first, you wouldn't be part of the fellowship because you'll fail your contract. You're contractually bound to um, have all of those things delivered.
Mm,
Um, so I wouldn't want to think what could actually happen, but hypothetically, if you don't have all those things, you're going to be going back and trying to track down everyone to sign off on it. It's just such a headache. It's going to be
mm,
extra money because you're going to have to hire someone to help you, but you also need legal representation. And you just look like you're not ready for the opportunity.
mm,
And I always say, like, stay ready. Just stay ready. Like, I'm waiting for my opportunity, but trust that we're ready.
mhm,
We're ready for it. But and we are. But if you're not ready, if tomorrow, if Steven Spielberg calls me tomorrow, it's like, hey, I saw you on Floyd Marshall's podcast, and you said you was ready. I'm gonna be like, hold on, let me give you my 2 seasons of Invade. Here's my pitch. I'm ready. Like, I'm just waiting for the opportunity. So everything that I'm working on, I'm working to make that opportunity a reality, but I'm ready. So
See, that's what
stay
I'm
ready.
talking about. See, ladies and gentlemen, what you just heard was someone who's in the film business, but they're a business person. And that is so vitally important because oftentimes, and I talk about this quite a bit, creators want to create, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what happens to your creation after it's created? What are you going to do with it? Now, if you're just going to show it to your friends, okay, fine. But if you plan on looking to become a part of a fellowship or looking to get distribution, you have to have your deliverables. Some, things have to
Mm.
be in place. So that was definitely a masterclass. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't listen to anything else that on this podcast, I hope you listen to that. Phenomenal 2 to 3 minutes of what Eunice just laid down. Rowing to Stardust is an Oscar qualifying film.
Yeah.
What happened when you got that news?
Whew. So I got it in an email and I was like, what? Like, I had to I screenshot it and I sent it to Elvis and Rachel. And I was like, guys, am I reading this right? I highlighted it, I circled it. I was like, is this us? And then it didn't become a reality until the press release was out. And I just sat there like, oh my gosh, like I and so we did it. Okay, so we won Best Narrative Short at the Real Sisters of the Diaspora Film Festival. Of course, it would be like sisters just validating my journey and my vision, and it felt really special. Um, Especially as part of the diaspora, where we don't really I live in this dual world full of dualities, right? I'm black, I'm brown, I'm an immigrant, but I'm also American, and all of these things are part of me, but I don't necessarily see that experience. And
Mhm.
so Real Sisters really made that just really validated my experience in my voice, and it felt fantastic, I must say. Um, but then getting the call and getting the email and the congratulations, it was surreal. I still honestly, even hearing it sounds bizarre to me. Just like, oh my God, don't say that. It's so weird. But yeah, it was just a really special moment. I got to share it with my producers and also Zeus Pictures. We reached out and we said, hey guys, we're Oscar qualified. And I just couldn't even it was nothing that I did not expect it. I really
Mhm.
didn't. And it just made me feel like I'm heading in the right direction. I have to stay within my I have to stay true to my voice
Mhm.
because people are gonna find me. And that's really what and even the director of Real Sisters, I told her, I was like, I really thought hard. This is a bilingual film and it's English and Spanish. And I thought I wanted to be very, very intentional with with that, with the language choice, with the choice of people, with it's the multi generational story. I have a first time actress, Yolanda Nolasco, which is Elvis Nolasco's mother.
Mm.
She's a first time actress. She did an amazing job. And she did it for her son because she does never wants to act again. But she
Okay.
did. She did it for her son, she did it for me. I asked her, to please do it because I saw her. I wanted to be culturally correct. And I wanted
Mhm.
everyone to have this, all the family members to have the same dialect, to have the same kind of, they're from the same space. Um, so that it feels grounded and real. Um, and even telling them, she was so funny. She was like, "Oh yeah, I did a good job." I'm like, yes,
Hell yeah.
you
I
did
would think, yeah, I
amazing.
think you did.
And she's just like, okay. And then she goes on and just like goes to the kitchen. I'm like, what? But yeah, it was fun telling her. She's a trip. Fun telling her, fun telling, just sharing it with everyone. But the idea that I really wanted Rowan the Stardust to be a vehicle for the whole team to elevate where they want to go to get them there. And
Mhm.
it felt like as a director, like I got the team there. They can always say, "Hey, I worked on an Oscar qualifying film," and I did that as a director, and that's what felt good. It's not even the what happens next. It's the fact that everyone's work came together in such a beautiful way, and we made something that was of a high caliber that everyone can be proud of, and I'm really proud of that.
That is beautiful, and I'm extremely proud of you myself, and it really just shows you, and for the people that look like us, that you are capable of doing these things, even when someone says you're not.
Yeah,
If you just put your head down and don't allow other people's disbeliefs to kind of derail you from what your purpose is,
right.
it's a beautiful thing, and you end up with an Oscar qualifying film. So you now have an Oscar qualifying film, and you talked about wanting this film to be authentic, and it kind of leads, which is a phenomenal segue into a question that I had sent you, and you kind of corrected me on. And I want to talk about that a little bit, about, dreams kind of deferred and then kind of taken in another direction. With you having this film, because I'm more than sure that you had people kind of tell you, because making films is hard, but I'm sure you've
Mhm,
had people say, well, are you sure you're built for that? Who
mhm,
told you as a Dominican, first generation American woman that you were capable? You didn't
mhm.
do this. You didn't go to film school. You didn't la la la. La. You hear all the. So with your parents having had to do what they had to do, as far as deferring their dreams and then changing them, how has that shaped you today as a female filmmaker, a Black female filmmaker?
Yeah. So my mom wanted to be a nurse. She just wanted to be a nurse. She had no path, but that's her want. My dad wanted to be a professional baseball player, specifically a Yankee. And he was in the minor leagues. He came here to the United States on a sports visa, and injury and just circumstances of life, he ended up working in a factory. When they came here, their dreams were put on hold, and they changed because they assimilated, and their dreams were then became hopes and wishes for my brother and I.
Mhm.
And they did everything they could to make sure that whatever we dreamt, we can actually achieve. And starting a family here was part of that. I think that um I'm, and I keep using this word, but it's very real. I validate them as humans. I
Mhm.
validate my ancestors, and just everyone who had a part of their journey and my journey. Um, my mom is right now, she's very proud, and my father's deceased now, but I know that he would be very proud as well.
Mhm.
Um, I think that it took them losing their dreams for me to be able to be here.
Mhm.
and kind of reconfiguring that, and what, what that looks like. Sometimes we do put to the side, like, for example, I took a long hiatus and started to work specifically in, in the I had a different job in a corporate sector, although I was still writing and doing marketing and stuff like that. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but I had to defer that dream to be a mom and take care of my, my children. But
Mhm.
now that I'm in the position where I'm allowing myself to dream, and I'm allowing myself to understand that my creative side can become a business, and I can support my family on this, and I am chipping away at that possibility. um but I don't think that I would have the tools, the balls to do it, if it wasn't for my family being like, you're either going to defer that dream or you're going to do it. There's
Mhm.
no in between. And yeah, and just out of respect for the fact that they did defer their dream to fuel and to support their children, I'm doing this for them as well.
That's beautiful. And you know what? When you become a parent, they become the most important thing in the world.
Yes. Yes.
So, sometimes you have to put on your big boy pants, your big girl pants, and you say to yourself, this is what I want to do, and this is what I have to do.
To do right.
Because, I mean, I have both of my children are grown now, but for a long time, there were certain things that I couldn't do. But now that,
Mhm.
they're grown, we're empty nesters, I'm beginning to pick that steam back up.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it is what it is. But you know what? That just shows, kiss your mom and kiss your dad tonight if you haven't, and tell them you love them,
Yeah.
because they make so many sacrifices for you that you don't
Yeah.
understand at the time. But then when you yourself become a parent, you're like, wow, they did that for me.
Yeah.
So the fact that you now have an Oscar qualifying film, the fact that Invade is doing so well, the fact that you're an award winning filmmaker, the fact that you are really becoming recognized and you're so talented, that is a feather in their cap.
Yeah. My mom
That's
thinks
like,
I won the Oscar already, by the way. I have
you
to
did.
correct her all the time, like, no,
No,
wait.
no, 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 no. See, I'm going to correct you. Claim that.
Claim it. Got it.
Claim it, because in her, I'm very big into manifestation, and they
Yeah.
talk about, write it down, say it, claim it, visualize it, speak it. And she's already done that. So
Yeah.
to her, it's a done deal. So for me, it's a done deal. So it's a done deal.
Yeah.
So the next time you come on the show, you'll be having, your gold
Yeah.
statuette. And then I can actually say, I actually got to interview an Oscar
Yes.
winning filmmaker
Yes.
on my show. That's what's up. Yeah. So Eunice,
Yeah.
what is next?
Ooh, what is next? Well, we have our Oscar run next year. So we will spend 2023 trying our best to get people to vote for us so that we can be shortlisted for the 2024 Oscars. So that's that, marketing our position and getting people to vote for us is going to be part of 2023. Um, I'm going to be in production I'm directing a short film. It's the first film. It's called Affordable Housing. It's the first film that I'm directing that I didn't write. It was written by
Oh wow.
Wimoto Nayoka, and she is an awesome collaborator and now my friend. She's amazing. She is amazing, and I'm just having a blast. We just started really early pre-production now, and so it's a campy horror short, and it's based in Philly, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. And what else? Continuing to kind of push and develop Invade as a series, and Roland Stardust feature I am developing, and it's called To the Moon.
Oh nice.
And those are the things that I'm doing next year.
Beautiful. So where can people find you? Because they need to know where you are so they can follow you.
Yeah.
So when you win that Oscar, they can come on your Instagram live and say, I was a part of that. Where can they find you?
All right. So the easiest way to find me is through my website, eunice.levis.com. If because everything is there, it's so much easier than to tell you all the different handles. So eunice.levis.com. If you want to check out specifically Invade stuff, you can go to invadethemovie.com.
See, you know what? Now you just said your last name.
Yes.
And when I first saw that, I was like Eunice Levis. But then when I listened to an interview, somebody said Eunice Levis. I said, I've been saying it wrong. I was saying it right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to introduce her again. Welcoming to the show, Eunice Levis, not
Thank
Eunice
you.
Levis. I thought I had it right, but hey, I'm so glad you said that. Well, Eunice, this was an absolutely amazing interview. And
Thank you.
next year, which is next week,
Right.
basically, when you guys start your Oscar marketing, I would love for you and the team to come on the show so we
Yeah.
can do a live and blast this on all our platforms because we need people to see this. We need people to vote for this. Um, I hope to see you guys in Los Angeles because if you submit to the one that I told you about, it's
Yes.
definitely they're definitely getting in. So it would be lovely to see
We
you
did
guys
submit, by
out. And oh, great!
the
So I'll be seeing you in Los Angeles in July.
way.
I am claiming that right now.
Awesome.
But this was absolutely amazing. I am it's such an honor and a pleasure to meet you. I'm always happy to meet dynamic people that really, really, really care about this business, and you are definitely one of those people. Any parting words?
Oh my goodness. Any parting words? Well, um, please support black and brown voices in horror and sci-fi and just different spaces. Be part of my tribe, follow me, and I will follow you back.
Okay, and we are going to end it right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We have a couple people, and actually, I think your sister was in the room earlier. I can't see her name.
Oh my
Rosalind.
yes, yes.
Yes,
It's
she
my
was here earlier. I saw her. I saw her. Her comment. But Monique, thank you so much. Samantha, Derek, thank you so much for being here. And those some people I can't see, but guys, thank you so much for being here. I
thank
truly
you.
appreciate spending this last hour of your time with myself and Eunice Levi's Oscar
Yes.
Award winning filmmaker. You
Yeah.
heard it here second because her mother said it first, and I am not trying to get in the way of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again so much. And we'll
Thank
just end it with
you.
this. Love this like a hobby, but by all means, treat it like a business. Have a phenomenal week. And if you what is that? If you good grief. If you celebrate the holidays, wow. If you celebrate the holidays, have a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. All
Happy
right,
New Year,
everyone, have
guys.
a great night. Take care.
Thank you.
You're
Bye,
welcome.
guys.